shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills, the flowering hills, at least beginning to flower, of Middle Tennessee. Yes, the home of Alvin York and all sorts of people, all sorts of singers, and oh man, you name it, we've got it. It's a pretty interesting state to live in. We have the Titans, and we have the music business here in Middle Tennessee that's flourishing, I would say. And just like your state, you have all sorts of things to be proud of, and that you find, I'm sure, very interesting. I know when we traveled through the West, we found something everywhere that was pretty interesting stuff. Wanted to stop lots of places. We just didn't have the time to on our schedule. But anyway, I'm in Tennessee still, and it's warming up, and things are beginning to grow. That's a good thing, and it's a bad thing, because things grow randomly, don't they? Weeds, grass, and everything else in the way where you don't want it, hiding little ticks and varmints you'd rather not encounter, and all of that. But by and large, I guess I prefer spring and summer, and fall especially, to the dead winter, and this year the cold winter. Wow, I'm going to start shopping in Florida for another compound if winters are going to be like this from now on. Of course, you people in the north are just laughing at me, right? Like the KGB65. He's laughing at me in my own voice, probably looking like me and making fun of me. Every video he posts is in 5 feet of snow, seems like. But anyway, it's all relative. So here we are. It's a wonderful Sunday afternoon. It's pretty balmy here in Tennessee. High 60s at least. Rain coming in. I was going to maybe get out on a Harley, but I don't know. The rain's coming in. I'll wait for a day when that's not going to happen. I do that for fun, not because I have to use it to get somewhere. So I thought I would chat at you. I did a little woods walking here with a firearm or two. Came back in, need to do some cleaning. And I thought, well, why not just yak a little bit? Some of you, well, quite a few of you tell me that you clean your guns to these crazy radio shows. And I would hate for you to go an entire 2 weeks with dirty firearms. What if you needed it? What if I'm responsible for you being killed for lack of shooting back because your gun malfunctioned, you didn't clean it, or it was still out in the garage locked up or something where you keep it till you clean it or something? I don't know. It's all my fault because you got caught unarmed having a dirty gun. So we can't let that happen, I guess, at least this week. So I'll yak at you a little bit, and I'll think of something to talk about. Thank God I got my taxes done and all that's out of the way. April the 15th coming up. Like you need a reminder, right? Don't you love that? Don't you let us? Some of you may have really simple taxes. And I remember those days, and mine aren't all that complicated or anything. I don't have 1,000 investments and all that. But this YouTube thing, creates a whole nother world of different things to account for and everything else. So I went to a CPA a few years ago just to keep my sanity. But it's still, I could do all the bookkeeping and keep everything straight and the records of it, But that's out of the way for now. Don't you just love the tax code? Don't you just love the way all that is set up? Wow. It's no wonder we have a hard time trusting our government or any large organization. Look at the freaking tax code. Look at that. Just give me a percentage and I will gladly pay it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Really. Come to a percentage. Of course, as we all know, that will increase just like it always does, but a creaky floor here. I know we hear that in the radio show. Sorry about that. This is reality radio, right? But I haven't really studied in depth all the flat tax proposals and things. And of course, there's not a lot of depth to them. They're pretty simple, as I understand. Just come to a percentage, and we all pay it. My gosh, whether it's 10%, whether it's 20%, whether it's 15%, or it's 25%, whatever it is, and you just know that's what it is of any income you have, or whatever the system might be. If it's a consumption tax, you pay a certain percent. That's all you pay, period. And you can just open up your calculator and figure out your taxes in about 2 minutes, or, on any given week or month or piece of income you get. I don't know. Wow. Why does everything have to be so complicated? But part of the reason is politics, isn't it? There's advantages to all the little various deductions or this and that. Someone gets something out of it. It's that old agenda thing. Some group, gets something if we do it this way, and another group gets a little piece of the pie if we do it that way. And we're always fighting that. That's human nature. But boy, I wish we could simplify things. It's. I know some of you are pulling your hair out too. Probably right about now, this weekend or next weekend, we're running out of time to get it done. And I don't even begrudge paying a lot of my taxes. I'm not even coming from that standpoint. Well, I do. There's so much money wasted. Extreme amounts of it, right? But forgetting all that, it's just the crazy forms and the codes and everything that get you coming and going. Just give me a percentage. I'll pay it, because I guess I'm boringly honest in a lot of ways. I complain as much as anybody. And if I were the ruler of the world, would I change things? You better believe it. But I go out of my way to make sure that I pay every penny and more. There are deductions I could take. I don't even take just because, I don't know, it's a minor thing here and there. I have a receipt, and part of that receipt, whatever, $23 of it, I could have deducted or something, and I got these other things. Forget it. It's not a big. I just don't do it. There are probably things with this project I could deduct that I just don't necessarily. The obvious things I do, but I'm not going to spend 3 days looking for another $100 deduction. I'm just not that sort of person. I'm too busy living, really. I may have told you this before. I'm one of those guys, even back when I did a checkbook manually and, balanced it, I rounded up, rounded down. Who cares about 50 cents? Who cares about 75 cents? I'm not worried about it. If the bank and I disagree by a small amount, I assume it's my mistake. Really, that may be crazy. I've got too much to think about than $14 or something at the end of the month, or 60 cents on a dollar, round up, round down. It all evens out pretty well. So I just like to keep things simple. Call me crazy. Well, I guess you would, because I am, right? Okay, enough on that. What else? Guns. Oh, boy. They consume my life. You'd think I'd get tired of firearms, wouldn't you? They say that you can get tired of anything if you just are involved in it 24 hours a day. And I almost am with firearms, but for some reason I don't get tired of it. I guess I'm really sick. There's absolutely no hope for me. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll go ahead and confess. I need a 12-step program to overcome my addiction. And if you don't believe me, listen to this. Now, many of you can tell, again, sounds like an AK, right? I think I might have had the AK out the last time I was yakking at you on this little recorder. Yeah, here I go. The old arsenal, working the bolt, AKM specifically, I guess, but it's I still call them AK-47s if they fire the 7.62 round. I tend to. But then again, I'm weird. I call a 1911, even if it's a 1911 A1, or it's a Kimber, or it's some other brand, Ed Brown. I still call it 1911. Yeah, Arsenal. So you're thinking, man, you're addicted to that Arsenal, Hickok. You got that sucker out again, huh? Can't resist it? Well, there's another sound you need to hear on this. Now, could have been a select few of you got that. Here we go again. Maybe. Did it sound to any of you like a folding stock? Yeah, you're beginning to get the picture, aren't you? It's not the same AK. Like I said, I need a 12-step program, I confess. May have told you, may have rambled about this, but over the last year, I guess, since the SAM 7 SF Arsenal came out, I have picked it up in a few shops. I have thought, this is pretty cool. You know, it has really high ratings and all that. It's different. But then again, it's a lot like my SGL-20. Yeah, I've got a nice arsenal. I'd like another AK, but I want it to be different. Not sure what, but just different. Maybe wood furniture, something that's big enough I could actually shoot the thing. But the more I've thought about it over the months and months, I keep coming back to that thing. Kept coming back to it. I'd pick it up here and there. And then, of course, you got to where you didn't see them much and you didn't see them more rarely. And, then I like that C39. We got the Century Arms a lot. And I think John is acquiring that one. But then I just been thinking even further, okay, the old SAM 7, that thing is so cool. Well, when I say cool, I don't mean the same thing a lot of people mean, but if it has the functionality that I want, it's cool to me, right? I don't have one that has that has a milled receiver or a folding stock. Those are pretty big and different items, on an AK, really. A folding stock's pretty dramatic. So, well, yeah, maybe I should just go with that. That's different, and I love that gun. More I read about it, more I looked at it, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet. I've been toying with this for too long. Got some other guns I'm going to sell, and it's going to be essentially a trade. I'm just going to do it, even though it's kind of pricey, but it'll end up being an even trade for me here eventually. And so I made the decision, and of course I have it here, so I came upon one, right? So I started going around to my favorite gun shops and some of the bigger gun shops that maybe not are even my favorite gun shops, and there are none. They just kind of scarfed up, and I don't know if it's a scare about the Russian and the Ukraine issue and all that, or what it is. Just the usual onslaught of gun buyers these days. So then I got to look on Gunbroker, and there's a couple on there, and looking around, a couple other shops. I didn't see one anywhere physically. I like to buy in local gun shops, even if it costs a little more. I'd rather buy at a local gun shop. Just depends on the difference. I don't know. I haven't ever put a percentage to it, but say it's a $500 gun, and I can get it online for $475. Hey, I'll pay $500 in a local shop, or even more than that. Try to help keep them in business. I'm not going to pinch pennies, buy online. Some of you would disagree with that. I understand. It just depends on the difference. If it's a significant difference, I will, maybe do that. But I can count on one hand the guns I've bought online. It's almost always, well, it is. It's always something unusual or something I can't find anywhere. That basically, I think I can use the word always. I have never just bought a Glock or something, or M&P or anything online. It's always some oddball lever action gun, or like the Swedish Mauser, the kind I wanted, the vintage. I mean, you just don't run into that stuff everywhere you go. And this thing, couldn't run into it anywhere I went. And so I found one online, two or three online, and the price, they're high, but it was fair. And from a gun shop out of state, that kind of thing. It wasn't even an individual, but brand new. And so I clicked finally, and and I have it. And I just now went out and shot it for the first time, actually. I just got it in this week, and oh man, I am going to fall in love with this thing. I guess it's the milled receiver or the weight or something. It doesn't feel all that heavy, but I don't know, it's just smooth. It doesn't feel like it bounces much at all. And I think I got a little left trending. I'm going to have to adjust the sight. I couldn't find my sight tool. I think I have an AK sight tool somewhere, but I surely can't find it. So I'll probably just order one, another one. Maybe I'll find a really good one. I picked one up somewhere. Don't want to booger up the sight. I could just pound on it with a hammer, I guess. They're a brass hammer. And I already replaced, I was so excited, I already ordered the Krebs custom peep sight for the rear sight, like I have on my SGL20, and had it in, and in fact it came in the same day I picked this up, and put it on this morning. And the only problem I had, I like the elevation. It's going to be great because I can have the rear sight up a little bit. It looks like I like it. I can see it better, and it's going to hit right where I want it to hit. However, the little controller, I'm not sure what that's even called, the adjustment, the little thing slides along the rear sight so you can move it up or down. It's not catching. And so I've been perplexed for the last few minutes since I shot it. That's weird. You would think those would be pretty much all the same. But then it occurred to me what I might have done was put it on backwards because it looks the same. I might have slid it on the wrong side because it has little notches under the sight that it catches on, but they're only on one side. And I bet that's what it is. I hope that's what it is. So now I'm going to have to go out there and work on the shooting tables where I do that kind of stuff with a long gun usually, and wrestle that rear sight off again and put it back on. If you've ever taken the rear sight off of an AK, there's a trick to it. It's not all that difficult, but you got to hold your mouth right, and you got to push down on that leaf spring, so hard. And I've looked online. There's some people that have tricks to it. Some of them I didn't want to use. I don't want to scratch up the new gun, but I got the other one off and got this one on there without boogering anything up or stabbing myself with a screwdriver or anything, but it takes a lot of pressure. So now I get to go through that again. So I was so pleased to get the other one off and this one on, and now I've got to go through it again. But great gun. And I know, there are a lot of AKs out there that get the job done. Yeah, I don't want to really be a proponent to you guys. Some of you young people especially, you want to get an AK sometime and you're trying to find that $400 AK or something. Yeah. Hey, AKs just by nature are really reliable. If you can find one that's been built right, like the Century, some of those are great. Some of them aren't so great, just depends. But you can find a pretty reasonable AK, for a reasonable price that will just do fine. That Century, that Wasser I had a few years back, some of you might remember that. I did have a different stock and stuff on it, but that was just a Wasser 10, and it shot well. In fact, the only AK video I have at 230 yards, I believe, was with that. Unless I shot that AK-74 at 230. I don't remember. Maybe I did, but I'm pretty sure I shot that Wasser 10 out there. It had such a nice trigger on it. It had a Tapco trigger. And we either started the video or that is the video, 230, I don't know. You can look that one up, but it's the Wasser 10. And, oh, man, I popped that, 12-inch plate over there at 230 yards with it, I think several times. So, they'll get it done. It's just, with me, I've been collecting guns, shooting guns, so many decades, and many of you younger people will kind of get to a point too. You're already there, maybe with certain firearms. You just, you don't have an AK yet. You've never had one, or you want to get a 1911. You can't wait to get some kind of 1911, and then you got your eyes set on something else, an M&P and some other rifle, and those sorts of things, and so. You don't want the most expensive one. You just been watching people or shooting people's 1911 or their AK, and you just want one. It doesn't have to be the best. So all of us, many of us have gone through those stages. But at some point, what I'm getting at is you begin to kind of consolidate, and you get those guns you really want, and then you start looking at them and say, well, I've got the guns I want, more or less. Kind of wish I had a better 1911 now, maybe, or something. And then you maybe trade around, and you start trying to get better firearms, maybe. Then you got 2 or 3 $400 or $500 1911s or something you end up with, and just from trades or whatever happened. And then you say, I don't even shoot those other 2, and I think I'm going to take all 3 of these 1911s, and I'm gonna get the one I really would like to have. Maybe it's $1,500 or something, or it's $1,000 1911, and you got $300 or $400 worth of add-ons you want put on it or something. So you kind of move to a point where you're looking towards more quality if you can. It's that sort of deal. I like AKs; they're just neat, and I've been fine with one for several years. I guess 4 years now or so. So I'm not looking to get quantity as much. If I get another one, if I were going to get another one, I just wanted something kind of special. So anyway, this is a pretty neat gun. If anybody's contemplating it, again, they're not cheap, but it's a really nice AK, no doubt about it. What I've read is true. At least it appears to be. I haven't shot it. I just shot a couple of magazines through it, but it's a great feel. The stock is, it's a folding stock. It's the tubular folding stock, and it locks up. I mean, tight as a drum. It's really tight. So we'll get her shooting, and you'll see it out here somewhere. Maybe I'll dual wield my arsenals or something. But pretty cool. So a little gun talk there. Since we're talking about guns, this is about firearms, and I tend to have a couple, and always some coming in and going out. We got a SIG 227, by the way. Viewer lent us. That's the 45 ACP SIG that came out recently. It's a little, I guess, more or less a counterpart to the Glock 30S. It's, SIG's had the 220 out forever, the 45. It's single stack. So I guess it's basically the 220 with a double stack magazine. So it holds 10 rounds in the magazine, like the Glock 30S, but yet it has the same slide. Of course, the SIG slides are already kind of big. So, but that's what it is, and pretty interesting. We'll get that out this week and shoot it. I shot it today, in fact, magazine through it just to see how it felt. And the trigger breaks way bad. The grip's a little small for me, but it's a SIG, and it's a high quality gun. It's just like the 226. It's one of their high dollar pistols, and makes us to shoot it some more. Get some 45 ACP and fire that thing. Oh, and at the meet and greet yesterday, a local fellow brought by an SVT 40 Russian for us to borrow. How cool is that? So I have that in the house, and we will fire it and do a video of that firearm. Looking forward to that. I've had a lot of requests for that. It's interesting. There's not a lot out there on it as I browse around, and in terms of videos and things. But it's a pretty cool gun with some interesting history. So looking forward to firing that thing. It's a semi-automatic. Semi-automatic, and it fires the 7.62 by 54R, the Mosin round. So it's a powerful semi-automatic, big gun, pretty cool. So that's pretty neat to have that. What else in the way of firearms? I've been firing the 45-70 some more. In fact, I've been reloading some more. I loaded, a couple of hundred 45-70s here in the last few days. So that's been nice. Got the restocked on that. I'm in pretty good shape. And we fired the Sharps, the 1877 reproduction, the Lyman model of 1878. I tend to just call it the Sharps 4570. It's the only Sharps I have, and it's 4570. If I just say that, you know what I'm talking about. It's that really pretty one with the brushed stainless action that Lyman sent. And we did finish off the wall with it, per your request. I think most of you were interested in seeing that wall that I started tearing down with the AK. You wanted to see it finished with 4570. Now, there were a lot of suggestions with all sorts of firearms, of course. It seemed like whenever you bring out the cinder blocks, especially, everybody has an idea what they'd like to see hit those cinder blocks or that cinder block wall. I'm kind of the same way. It's fun to do that, and we can't do that with every gun and every caliber. You know, I don't own 84 Lumber or a cinder block company, or and it's a lot of. I mean, it's a fair amount of work and mess and everything. Fortunately, I have some old sinkholes or creeks that need dammed up, and some things where I can put that, which is just what the doctor ordered. But it's kind of an ordeal too, though, clean that up. But it's worth it. You guys are worth it. So you can watch for that. We won't wait 4 months to post that like we do with some things. We, as you know, we have several videos, in the queue all the time, and then we just kind of try to keep the variety up, and it just works out just fine. Other than the season might look a little strange, but y'all have gotten used to that. By the way, we do have one video we did when there was kind of an ice storm here, and because of circumstances and posting something else with the same gun, we sort of wanted to do right then and that same week and everything. We're just going to hang on to that one. So at least we're going to try to. So maybe some really hot day in most places around the country, you'll see a little icy woods walk pop up on YouTube. So, since we're not going to post it, now or that week, well, let's just hang on to it. Summer's coming. It'll be kind of fun. We've talked about doing that before. If you've seen that guide gun, I think it's the first guide gun video. Well, it was a woods walk. Actually, it wasn't the first video, but it was the woods walk with the guide gun 4570. Hopefully you've seen that, because the main reason we did it that day was it was a heavy sticky snow, and all the trees were just hanging with thick snow. It was really neat walking through the woods. And after we did that, we made the comment, we ought to save this till July. Be fun. Maybe cool people off just to even watch it. So we got something like that there we'll hang on to. Maybe it's hard to do. But anyway, the Sharps and finishing off the wall was fun. Did it moved even further back up into the tree line there, and it's like about 250 yards. And I sat down with the cross sticks. I still had my cross sticks I bought from back when I had the Shiloh Sharps, and just used them, and it's kind of fun. Shot mostly modern ammo, but some black powder. And John got out we thought, well, do we want to get all the cameras out and, kind of redo what we did with the AK? And first we were just going to do 2 cameras. And the more we thought about it, John said, well, we might as well get the 3rd camera out again too. I mean, why not? If we're going to do this and finish off the wall, let everybody get a look from different angles and everything. So we did. And I think I threw about 25 or 30 rounds over there. Even though it's a single shot, it's remarkable how quickly you can go through a lot of ammo with that thing. More than you would expect. Well, it's not too quick. And of course, that's one of the issues with a video like that one, because that is a long way to be slinging lead, and there weren't too many misses, but as the wall came down a little bit, I was shooting a few of them over it, and it doesn't matter how long a barrel you have or how good a sight you have. If you're at 250 yards, you're still at 250 yards, and it's still sight and trigger control and everything else. So I had a few misses, but that's okay. And we still didn't totally destroy it. It's I don't know, we may do something with it. Maybe we'll leave what's left up for the next chapter 2 over there on that hill, and then as part of the chapter 2, take some more shots at it or something. I don't know. It's virtually destroyed, but there's still some meat left there. But those are fun. Cinder blocks they're fun. I don't know if you've ever shot one, but I know most of you like to see them shot, at least. It's just pretty interesting. You normally can't shoot at rocks. Duh. Talk about ricochet. But cinder blocks, a little safer, flat, and they're not as hard as rocks. And you get a reaction. And, most firearms will go through at least the front side, unless you hit one of the partitions. It depends on where you hit it. So they're pretty cool to shoot at. Oh, and speaking of the meet and greet in Jolton, that was fun. Those are always interesting and fun. Meeting you guys and talking guns. So we had some loyal folks show up and hung around the whole time. Several of them, and it's pretty neat. And some other people were in and out, but that's a blast. I really forgot to take pictures till late in it and snapped a couple there. So it's always fun when kids come. There were 2 or 3 youngsters that I got to pick on a little bit, and I always enjoy that, as you know. So John and I enjoyed meeting some of you folks there, if you're listening, and chatting with you. The way we view those is whoever shows up is whoever shows up. We're just there and glad to chat and answer most questions and sign anything that you want signed or just whatever. And we have some more of those coming up. And I don't know, once we go through these up through June, July, that may be all we do. I don't know. We'll just evaluate it and see if enough people come out to make it worthwhile. And the driving and the traveling to do them is, if we can do that. So just depends. But so we will be again at the NRA convention. I will at the NRA convention at the federal booth. It's the ATK? Is their corporate umbrella there, but at the federal booth. And I've got all that in the videos, and I'll post it, and the booth numbers there, and the description of those update videos, the vlog videos I've posted recently, and on Facebook, and I'll continue to post that. And we'll be there that Friday and on that Saturday, and then the next one probably will be up there in Owensboro. Actually, I think it's technically West Louisville, I believe, but it's at the Whitaker Gun Shop. And then the one in July over in Pigeon Forge is, I've been saying a big new gun shop. I can say now it's they've announced it. It's actually a kind of a branch or a franchise, whatever, of Bud's Gun Shop. It's going to be called, I think, Bud's Gun Shop and Range, right there behind the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, if you're familiar with that. You probably are if you've been over there. The big building with a blue roof full of knives and other things. And behind there, I'm not sure, I think that building maybe where the Coleman store is possibly it, but back in that area is where it's going to be, and maybe a range and everything. So we'll be over there sometime in July, so hope to see you there. Still a possibility of one down in Texas, San Antonio, or between San Antonio and Dallas, somewhere in that area, maybe end of May, not sure. I'll let you know though if we do. And make sure you get out if I am there. Changing gears, can you believe this Fort Hood business? That just really is a shocker, isn't it? Here we go again, and I posted on Facebook about that, but it just is such common sense. The gun-free zones are where people do these things, and we just got to continue working to get rid of the gun-free zones, because they end up not being gun-free, or the bad guy, or the madman, or whoever, And it has been interesting. I have seen a lot of people interviewed about that, a lot of servicemen and women, a lot of officers and different people. I have seen a couple who have been very adamant that, only people not in the military would suggest that people carried on base. Well, maybe, maybe. I've heard a huge number of service people, including some officers, lamenting the fact that we don't do that anymore. And I think about 20 years ago that was ended. And, it'd be so simple for at least the officers, or if you pick the rank, whatever. If you ended up with whatever, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 7 people there have a handgun, there you go. And then it's no different probably than the mall down the street in most states, or the movie theater, or anywhere, whether you're supposed to have it or not. You can guarantee in most malls and movie houses and anywhere else, there's going to be 1 out of whatever, 6, 8, 10, have one, especially these days now. But, it's crazy. And I heard one guy, I think his name is Hunt. I heard him interviewed quite often. I think he's maybe a writer, he's an officer, and really sharp guy, and shares his opinions on anything military, on Fox and other places. And when I saw him speaking about it, I thought, okay, well, whatever he says will be intelligent. But he went on and on about this and how inconvenient and how nobody inside the military would suggest carrying firearms. And it's so inconvenient with assault rifle strapped on your shoulder. You can't do half the things they need to do, and they're going about their business doing this and that, and the assault rifle is just in the way, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He kept saying that, and I almost burst out laughing. Well, yeah, duh. You don't need an assault rifle. You don't need an M16 or an M4. My gosh, an LCP, anything. If somebody is trying to kill you, will probably stop them or slow them down, especially the madmen that are just out there to commit suicide and take people with them. Ah, man. So, again, people have agendas. I heard, was it Tom Gresham or somebody talking about how the military is a lot like the civilian world in a sense, where if you talk to the average policeman, you get some, generally some common sense about firearms, but you go up the chain and the captains and the police, especially in the cities, and some of these officers that are they're appointed by the mayor or whatever, and then you get into all the politics of it, and it's 9 times out of 10 those people are anti-gun on some level, and it's the same in the military, as I understand. The further you go up the chain, you get more of the political correctness, because they're not as likely to be the ones, getting shot probably, right? Could happen, though. But anyway, most people were sharing some common sense about that. How difficult, my gosh, they've all been through basic, I would assume, at least most people on the base, and they're fairly competent with a firearm and safe with it. Is the main thing. I tell you, as I've said before, if I'm in a crowd of people, and this is where your anti-gunners, they use this as an argument. Well, I don't want people carrying guns around there. Someone pulls out a gun, and then in Wild West ensues, and you're in Dodge City, and people shooting every which way and all this stuff, and like that's a bad thing. If I'm sitting in a theater and someone walks up front and starts shooting, I don't care if who it is, some blue-haired old lady that can't hit a bar and starts shooting at the guy, shoot. I guarantee he'll be ducking down and slowing down and maybe running out, maybe going ahead and committing suicide. He doesn't know who's shooting at him and whether they're going to be any good with that pistol or not. Wow. There's just no common sense. IQ does not guarantee common sense. That's one thing I have observed in my life. And I know you have too, probably. So, just have some people with firearms, randomly. For one thing, it's going to make it less likely it even happens. These people don't go places where they know there are firearms generally, right? Hardly ever. So that's the reason they go to gun-free zones. Get rid of the gun-free zones, and ironically, the people who have guns in those new zones are not going to even have to use them. How crazy is that argument that if people aren't highly trained, and I don't want, the Wild West to break out. If someone has chosen, they brought in a firearm to see how many people they can eliminate in some crowd, and they're going to start shooting at me and the other people around there. And how worried am I about somebody else shooting? At least they're probably going to be shooting in the other direction at that person. If they hit me by accident, so be it. Oh, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, man, you just never know when I get the old recorder turned on, do you? Oh, man, let's see. I should have made some notes. Well, I know one thing that comes to mind about that, about how, whether it's the military or it's any large group of people, company, you just get some, like I was talking about taxes earlier. You would think that all the brilliant minds we have in this country, that we would have a really smart tax code. We'd have a really brilliant system, make it painless, but we'd have to pay our taxes. No, we don't, because of all the groups and the agendas everybody has. And that's just the way it is in big organizations, whether it's the military or anything. And it just points to that fact that we grow up being taught to respect our elders and, respect authority, right? And I always did pretty well. I still do, manner of speaking. But one thing that I have come to see over the years, there's just a lot of people, whether they're older than I, whether they are in a higher office than I am, or whatever, they don't necessarily deserve my respect. It's a tricky situation because we've got total chaos if we don't raise our kids to trust the authority, and do what they're told, and all those sorts of things. In school and military, wherever they are, things just break down. Anarchy, chaos if we don't. But then on the other hand, people can be so stupid. Large groups, organizations can be so stupid. They just really can. Individuals can. Individuals can be dangerous, as we all know. All we have to do is read the newspaper. One thing I would talk about with my students, whenever, one thing about teaching literature and that sort of thing, and everything comes up for discussion. And that's a good thing. And, you can remind them, just as their parents do, that, you got to have a wary eye. People that seem trustworthy, people that you should be able to trust, you probably can. But then again, you've got to have that third eye. You have to always be on your guard, always be aware, not be paranoid, but be aware. You have things, you have organizations, you have people who infiltrate whatever it is, the Boy Scouts, or they're a priest, or whatever they are, and they do exactly the wrong thing, right? And they're people that have earned trust and all that. So you got to be smart, and I think most kids are today, if they've had any training. Parents have to, how you say it, delicately or diplomatically, warn them, scare them a little maybe, without turning them into paranoid little creatures. The further you come along and live in this world, you do realize that a lot of the people who are supposed to have the best answers do not have the best answers. It's just that simple. And it's you can see it every day. And I guess that's one reason our system, as crazy and as chaotic as it is at times, and messy and as frustrating as our government system is, it's the best system because democracy is messy, and we do need to have power spread out among as many people as possible. A dictatorship is very it's squeaky clean in a lot of ways, right? Things can run very smoothly. Not a lot of arguing goes on. Not a lot of bickering. You don't have the log jams in the legislative process that we do. But that's a good thing, as I always say, because I don't want to live in a country where things get passed too easily. You know, give me some gridlock. I like a little gridlock. Yeah, that's fine. People, it's funny. I hear people complaining about a do-nothing Congress, or Congress hadn't got anything done, or you went to Washington, didn't get anything done. Hey, that's good news for me. That's good news. I just did not get anything done for about 5 years. I wish we hadn't got anything done the last 5 years, you know. So, but it's messy because people are people. Human nature is there, no matter what organization you're talking about. So we do need to have that power, spread out, and so people can keep tabs on each other, right? So I don't know if any of that made any sense. I'm doing my usual rambling. But there is a lot of truth in that. You grow up, trusting that your government, your teachers, anybody that's in authority, they always have the right answers, and you always look up to them. You can count on them to always do the right thing and to have the right answer. And that's not always the case, is it? All you have to do is watch the news. It's not always the case. Most of the time it is. On a positive side, most of the time it is. But you've got to be aware of that other time, just like packing a gun, Most of the time, our lives aren't threatened. We're not, I hope you're not, we're not paranoid people because we have a carry permit. I fully do not expect to ever have to draw my firearm. I did a couple of times when I was working with the sheriff's department, but I never had to fire it. It was just, you're just more likely to have to pull it out in some situations, but under controlled situation. But I don't really ever expect to have to draw down on anybody. Probably would never happen, It's just like my house, knock on wood, is probably never going to burn, But by gosh, I know where the fire extinguishers are. And I have fire insurance, so, and I have a spare tire. I don't expect to have a flat tire. I try to keep good tires on my vehicles, and I don't expect to have a flat, but could happen. It has happened, actually. Okay, what else? Oh, I know one thing I meant to remind you. I will be at Knob Creek on this Saturday. I plan to be. So if you're up at Knob Creek Saturday afternoon, I'll be there for 2-3 hours probably. So if you see me, say hi, and if I see you, I'll say hi. How's that? But I don't know. That's an interesting event up there. I've talked about it before. If you live within driving distance of Knob Creek, it's Knob Creek Machine Gun Shoot, for those of you who might not know. If you're listening from Oregon, of course, you're thinking, okay, what's that? But it's pretty interesting, and it's worth a drive. I'm just a couple hours, 3 hours away from it, so I usually pop up on that Saturday and browse through the gun show, watch some of the machine gun action, and sometimes rent one, shoot something. I haven't done that the last couple of trips, I guess. If there's a long line at the rental guns, I especially, I'm kind of funny. I won't stand in a long line for much, really. And I've shot a lot of fully automatic stuff, as you know. But there's usually some. If there were no line, then there were some things I'd shoot. I wouldn't mind shooting a Select Fire AK again. I get a kick out of that. But I've fired most of the classic firearms, whether it's M16, Thompson, and those things. And I think I might have mentioned before, I wouldn't mind firing a BMG, 10, 20 rounds, the Browning machine gun, 50 caliber. That might be cool. Again, if it was, accessible and there weren't a long line and that sort of thing, might be willing to do that. But nothing really on my bucket list that I'm desperate to shoot. As I've stated before, full automatic is fun, but I'm not driven necessarily to it. I do not even own one anymore. I voluntarily traded off or sold my Uzi, and John still regrets that I ever did that. But I had my 10 years of fun with it, and I don't know. I think what it was, that's when I was shopping for that Sharps. And what I had in mind was that Shiloh Sharps, to tell you the truth, as I think back on it. How's that for irony? Trading an Uzi machine gun, submachine gun, for a single shot 45-70. Pretty well paints the picture for how strange I am and how varied my taste is, really. Because I enjoy both equally. And in fact, well, I proved it, I guess. I traded for that, but I would rather have the Sharps if I could only have one. So the full auto stuff is neat. It's a great place to go because it helps get that out of your system. You might, if you're someone who you're thinking, oh, Hickok, I used to have some respect for you, if you ever did. No. But you would actually trade an Uzi, sell an Uzi, so you could buy a funky old single shot rifle. Oh man, what an idiot! Well, maybe it's something you too. I just need to get out of your system. Go to a machine gun shoot and spend a few $100, rent 2 or 3, and fire them every now and then. And it's a whole lot cheaper than buying one, believe me, and waiting for 9 months and the paperwork to come through and all that. Just try it. Try it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's cool, but I'm not driven to own one. Really, I enjoy this semi-automatic AK here. Just as much. It's cool. I mean, it'd be nice maybe to be able to flip the switch on down and go to full auto occasionally. I'd rarely do it though. It's hard to beat controlled aimed fire, even fairly rapid controlled aimed fire when you get right down to it. See, so that's one place I'm coming from, that maybe if you're a younger person, you're not aware of that yet, that except in certain situations, fully automatic fire really is overrated. I mean, it really is. But now there are situations where it's not. So just depend, and I don't expect to be in any of those situations, to tell you the truth. But I have the same affection. That sounds sick, doesn't it? But I do have the same affection for a sharp single shot that I have for almost any other firearm. Just the history, and there's just something about it. As I've said before, if you've ever owned a single shot, you know what I'm talking about. It's just have to experience it, especially a big bore single shot. But anyway, if you're at Knob Creek, be sure and say hi. And I have to say, people are so good. I know some people hesitate to bother me. They say, or I'll get messages. They'll say, "I saw you at the gun show, didn't I? Wasn't that you? I didn't want to bother you." It's never a bother to say hi, ever. I mean, really. Even if I'm in the middle of a gun deal, just say, "Hey, hi, Hickok, how you doing?" And then move on or something. If you think I'm really engrossed in a negotiation with somebody or something, that's I just appreciate you guys watching and the support that you give for the channel and help us manage the thing and manage the comments and help answer questions of people and just everything. I'm sure some of you jump into my defense at times. I know you do on the postings, but I probably hang out in a gun shop. I guarantee you somebody out there has been in a gun shop or somewhere, or a gun show, and someone said something about Hickok, and so, oh, that guy's an idiot, I bet you one of you has defended me, right? I hope you better have at least jumped up and said, no, wait a minute, he's not an idiot. He might be a little moronic, he might be an imbecile, he's not a total idiot. No, I appreciate the support you guys, that you demonstrate, and so, at least I can do is say hi. We can't get into a 20-minute conversation, but that's the other thing I was going to say. People are so respectful that we run into at gun shows and around. They just do just want to say hi and maybe talk a little bit about something, and they move on, and we move on. Whatever we're doing, it's we've not run into anybody that was an idiot. You know what I mean? It's which is kind of a compliment to you all, and it's a compliment to us because we're flattered that the viewers You know, John and I talk about that sometimes. After we get back from a gun show or something, or Knob Creek or wherever, that we really are lucky. We have a wide range of viewers, all ages, genders, and everybody we meet that says, "Hey, I watch your videos." They just they're just cool people, you know. I don't think we've ever had anybody approach us and talk to us that we thought, whoa, kind of scary that person watches our video, other than 10 Outdoors 9, of course, but or maybe 22 Plinkster. I mean, it's kind of scary that those people are even trusted around firearms, right? So anyway, don't hesitate, and I can't go out to lunch with you probably, but you know, don't hesitate to say hi, and shoot a machine gun if you get a chance. Well, it just dawned on me, you know, I was talking about my sight on the AK earlier, about how the you know, there's a name for that, I'm not sure what it's called, the little drum that slides along your rear sight, and you just push the buttons on either side, and it you know, moves, and you can adjust it very simply. I was telling you that maybe I put it on backwards, turned it around. When I changed out the sight, it looks like it would go on either way as I look at it. I was just careful when I was doing it. Actually, I just now realized, hey, get the old one out, the old sight out, and look at it, make sure it's the same exact sight and everything is exactly the same on it, except for the peep. And I just did when I hit the pause there, and the little grooves, the little teeth that it catches on, are actually on the opposite side of the original sights. So that's what has happened. I did not turn it around by mistake. I was careful to slide it on the same way, but I didn't notice that the teeth are on the right side of the original sight, but they're on the left side of this Krebs custom sight. It's interesting. Now, I don't remember a problem on my other gun, but so I'm going to go out here and take it off and fight this thing. I'm going to take it off and see if I can turn that around and fix it. And maybe I'll just report back to you how that turns out. Now, if I'm totally frustrated, you know, you'll know when I've stabbed my screwdriver through my hand, I might not be able to finish the radio show. I'll go try it. Okay, I'm back. I went out there and wrestled this thing again. Okay, if you've never done that, you can't really fully appreciate it. And take a look at an AK rear sight sometime and notice how it is installed and what holds it in there. Basically, you got a couple of ears on the front of it that fit into the little holes, but you'll notice that's not all that holds it in. It's this incredible upward pressure from a leaf spring. I mean, that leaf spring, it looks like a 1/4 of an inch thick. I mean, it's not your average leaf spring. And it takes a lot of pressure on the end of that thing to get the sight in. There's this place called YouTube. I looked on YouTube, and I saw one guy has this method of taking some channel locks. You take your gas tube and everything out of the way and all that, and a bolt and squeeze down on it with that. You know, that looks pretty innovative. That might work. I didn't want to try that and scratch up the rifle, but I scratched up that spring. I'm sure you can't even see it, but boy, it takes a lot of pressure pushing on that thing. And but I got it. Guess what? I took it out and I turned this thing around. Yeah, this little drum, push button drum that enables you to adjust the height of your rear sight. You know what I'm talking about? Even though I'm not sure what it's called specifically. And a thingamajig, I think. I was able to turn it around and saw how exactly it works, the little spring-loaded, and yes, that was it. That was it. So now it's on there properly, and it's hooking into those little teeth, and that's great, because I discovered something that I normally don't with rifles, because I do most of my shooting with rifles at 80 yards, 60 yards, maybe 230, sometimes 90 yards, messing around. I rarely shoot one out at 300, 400, 500 yards. Consequently, almost any rifle I have the rear sight needs to be all the way down, or else it's going to shoot high, or like really high maybe, because the rifle, the old military rifles, they all have these sights on them that are geared to shoot out at 800 yards, meters, 1,000 meters, and all that sort of thing. So if you're shooting at 70 yards, no matter what you're shooting at, small targets or large targets, a rear sight usually has to be down so far it's almost hard to see it. You get your face down on that stock further than you want to, and all of that. And then still take a really fine bead on that front sight. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then as you get out with serious distance, you raise the rear sight. Okay, and that changes your point of impact. Keeps it so you can hold the same sight picture. Well, normally I don't have the luxury with a rifle, metal sights, to raise the rear sight much, where it makes it easier to see, get it up a little bit. It just helps. I guess you got a big head like I do, whatever. It is more convenient if that rear sight's just up a little higher. And normally can't do that though. But I discovered with this over there messing around here, and just shot a couple of magazines though, that it looked like to get the proper elevation, even at 80, 90 yards, I needed that rear sight up. That was the problem. So I had it up where I wanted it, where it needed to be, but it wasn't staying up there because I had that thing on backwards. It was under recoil. It was sliding back down. And so that's good news in a couple of ways. One is that I can have that rear sight raised a little bit, get a better look at it. And then now, since I have it reassembled properly, it's not going to change on me. So when I go into combat, I will be more effective. So that's good. Now the only issue with this gun that I have encountered and that I see or in any way suspect is it does seem to shoot just a tad to the left, and I don't think that could be related to that rear sight issue, because it doesn't have any left-right adjustment at all. That wouldn't have, no way it would have affected windage on it. So I just need to move that front sight a little bit, and we'll be in great shape with this thing. Oh man, don't you love it when a plan comes together? I thoroughly enjoy the old AK, and I'm glad to have it work. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I carried it back in here. A thing that makes it rough working on rifles, because I'm basically and always have been almost a pistolero, and really didn't get into rifles that much until recent years, recent decades maybe. And still am not properly geared up to do a lot of things people do in rifles, I guess. One of which is working on one. You think about it. Now, with a handgun, it's not as big a problem, but if you're putting a sight on a rifle, or you're doing anything to a rifle that requires some pressure, say on the top of it, like where the sights usually are on the top, you've gone through this, I'm sure. Okay, how do I hold this thing and work on it? Even if I can stand it up or set it on a table and prop it up somehow, how do I do anything that takes any pressure and messing with, you need something, don't you, to stabilize the thing or get somebody to hold it. And I have never had a rest for a rifle. And for one thing, I don't do bench rest shooting. A lot of people have something they can use for that. And so I've just never had anything. When it comes to messing around with sights on a rifle, it's just, oh man, talk about amateurish. It just is always a wrestling match. And this would have been a super wrestling match. But the last time I did this was on my other Arsenal, the SGL-20, and I remember John holding on to it and us wrestling it together. And it took all the strength we both had, him to hold it while I pushed on that spring, and we finally got that on there. But anyway, you might have seen in the Sharps picture I posted on Facebook, I don't know, a week ago or so. After we did the first video with that Lyman Sharps 4570, I got it out the very next day because I suspected it was shooting a little bit left. And I thought, I'm going to work on the sights a little bit here. And I have the tool for that. I have never used. I posted a picture of that on Facebook, and it was for this what we call it, a rifle stand, that bench rest stand or whatever. That I'm going to give them a plug here. I know that on the radio show is not exactly a major plug, is it? But it's one reason I posted on the Facebook. I felt guilty because I've never really done anything with it, and they sent me this for free about a year ago. But it's a CTK Precision bench rest. What's it called? It's called the Ultimate Gun Vise. And it's very simple to set up and put together, and got adjustments. And I think some other YouTubers have done actual reviews for it or infomercials or something on this thing. And but it's a dandy. I like it. I'm glad to have it. I told the guy when he wrote me one note if he could send me one, and the same old line I always use. Yeah, I guess that might be something I'd use. It might end up in a video, or it might not. If you want to send it, your choice, kind of thing. I can't guarantee anything because we do mostly firearms and that sort of thing. So it's actually been like in the shed here for a year and gathered cobwebs and dust and everything. So I am glad to discover that thing, it was great sighting in the sharps, and it was especially great today. I put the AK in it, and it really locks it in tight. It's got a couple of functions there. It's obviously for sighting in a rifle and, just resting it and then pulling the trigger and all that. But it has this other gizmo where you can not just rest the stock, but like it's called a vise, the Ultimate Gun Vise, has these clamps that come up and hold it really, really solidly. And that's what I did with the AK before I even started messing with it this morning. So that became a non-issue. Holding the gun was not an issue, because I've been dreading this. I have been dreading it, changing that sight out and getting into it. But that made it a lot better. I highly recommend that you get one of these if you mess with, or one like it, if you mess with rifles and you find yourself like me, having to somehow balance the crazy thing while you're working on it. I'm a little slow to learn, right? All the years I've been messing with firearms, and I've never had anything like that to put a rifle in. If I needed to work on it at all, or even just sight it in, I just lay it on a limb or on something, a box, and sight the thing in. So I'm a little late getting one, but and then I didn't get one until someone sent it to me for free. I mean, it's not that I'm cheap. I don't even know what the thing costs. It's got to be $100 or $150. Well worth it. My gosh, if it blew away, I'd go buy another one. Let me put it that way. So anyway, that's cool. CTK Precision, So I'm sure there's a lot of those out there, but this one is cool. I like when I was adjusting the for the sharps, I was discovering more and more. I was like doing an infomercial for this thing with nobody around. I was saying, "Oh, that's cool. Hey, this is neat the way that works," that kind of thing. I was telling John how great it works. But anyway, it is a lifesaver. It was today. Got my sight in good shape on the AK. So that makes me a happy camper. I'm glad to have it in good shape. Ready for combat, because you never know when you're going to get the call, do you? And of course that brings up another thought. I guess my radio shows, I like to do this because it gives me a chance to talk about firearms in a very relaxed way, and it also gives me a chance to wax philosophical, doesn't it? And you have to listen. I mean, you're forced to listen to these. That's it's mandatory. So that's what I want to say to people when they complain about something too much. And I guess I have been sarcastic in a few comments, and I answer somebody if they're really giving me a hard time about doing a video on something or whatever it is. I'll occasionally, if I'm in the weird mood, I'll just write them that, well, I know, you're right, and that's the main reason we quit charging you for admission and for subscribing. No, but anyway, like this rifle stand, for example. I go my entire life without something like that. My entire shooting life, which is pretty extensive, messing with guns, even long guns, the last 20 years and different things, and without anything like that. And here I discover just this week hey, that's a cool device. That would come in handy for sighting in a rifle. That would come in handy for replacing a sight that, takes a lot of pressure. Huh, wow, that is cool. When most people, at least riflemen, have had these things forever, and here I just discover, wonderful. Man, now I would not be without one, for example. Okay, but it reminds me, that the old notion, we really just don't know what we don't know. That applies to almost any area of endeavor. We just don't know what we don't know, and that's why it pays not to be too stuck on ourselves, right? Or too arrogant and think we know everything, because we don't, and none of us, we don't even know what we don't know. We think we know, everything about something, maybe. Even if you're not a egotistical person, that's not what I'm talking about. It's just kind of natural human nature. We have a lot of experience with something, and we just, okay, there's not much I have yet to learn on this. I've kind of got it full of, but we don't even know there's something out there that works a lot better, and we just haven't discovered it, or hadn't come through yet, or something on our radar. But that's one reason I try not to be arrogant about any area of the shooting sports, because there's always another firearm I've never heard of. There's something, a part in a firearm I've never seen an action like that, or another model I didn't even know existed, maybe in a main line of firearms or something. It's just it's a big world out there, if you haven't noticed, and it doesn't matter what area of it you want to discuss. It gets pretty complicated, and there's a lot of stuff out there we just don't know about. And now this is something I should have known about, because I should have investigated. I should have created something like this, because I have wrestled with enough firearms, you doing whatever, that I could have used something like this. And one thing I do need to do that I don't do very well, I know, is sight in all my firearms to where they are just right on. I mean, they're not shooting left at all, they're not shooting right at all, and I know exactly where the elevation is. Of course, I have, messing with so many different firearms, I tend to forget by the time I get back to that firearm quite often. But there's really no excuse for having the windage off. If you've got especially a device like this, put up a piece of paper, and I have gotten better about that, at least getting down and kind of resting my firearms and making sure that windage is okay, because it's easier to account for elevation, because that changes anyway, maybe with ammo, and as you change distances, that sort of thing. But your windage, it's really annoying to have the windage off, and that's a simple enough thing to fix, because I set up paper occasionally, like right there at like 25 feet, 30 feet, and just get down and try to stabilize a rifle or even a handgun, and take a few shots with it and really get a feel for if it's shooting right on or not. And this thing makes that a lot easier. So I need to use it more often, not just when I'm wrestling my AK. And by the way, if you've seen the SGL-20, you've seen the rear sight on that. Maybe you didn't notice it if you have an interest in an AK, or you have an AK and you've just not noticed. Take a look at one of the videos with the SGL-20 more closely, and notice that rear sight. What I like about that is it makes it more like an AR sight, AR-15 sight, or an M1, or whatever. You got a ghost ring / peep sight, instead of that sight that's very hard, always has been hard for me to see on an AK or an SKS. A lot of the Russian sights they're just not that great, the stock sights, I don't think, on the Russian firearms, or Russian designed firearms, whatever. And what that does, the reason I like that so much is I love a ghost ring sight, as you know, and just love a ghost ring sight, rear sight. And plus, it gives you that without some dramatic modification of the firearm. It just to prove my point, I'm assuming you might have actually seen those videos and not have noticed it. See, And the mere fact that you might not have noticed it tells you that it is pretty discreet. You don't really notice it. It's not one of those deals. Because I'm kind of a sucker for stock guns without putting a lot of stuff on them. It depends on what it is, but I like kind of a traditional AK or 1911 even. All those firearms. So this enables you to have a really nice sight picture. But when you look at the firearm, you don't even notice anything's changed or anybody's put anything on it hardly. It's hard to even spot. It's just the only difference. It's the same size rear sight, bar, leaf, whatever they call it. It just has that little circle on the back end of it. So you don't really get it and think, wow, that's been customized. It's just hardly noticeable. So it's great. And again, I don't get anything from Krebs Custom. I sent them my $65 and ordered that last week. But it just like I bought the rifle. But it's well worth it. I think it's like $75 with shipping. So I'm willing to pay $75 to get that sight on there and get the stock sight off. I highly recommend it. I did see a video where somebody was messing with it when I was looking for tricks to getting the sight off. One of the sights I saw somebody putting on in one of those videos was a different sight. I didn't know anybody else made them, but maybe it's Williams. I'm not sure, but there are other ones. I think the one the person was putting in, it required I don't know, another roll pin or something to put up there to hold it down. I don't know what all that was about, but this is all one piece. But there may be 5 or 10 different people that make them. But I would highly recommend that on an AK. It might cause you to be more fond of the AK if you've not liked the sights on them. So, and again, I know I talk a lot about AKs lately, and you may hate the stupid things. But again, if you haven't shot them, maybe get ready now. Here we go. I get to use my line. Maybe you don't know what you don't know. That almost sounded planned, didn't it? No, really, maybe you don't. It's just like I get surprised and fooled by firearms that people lend me. I have several firearms in my collection I would never have suspected I would have that people have lent me, and I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd get a few requests for that. That's an interesting firearm in history or whatever, whatever. And then I shoot the thing and get to know it and take it apart and fall in love with it. Whether it's a Krag or a Swedish Mauser, and there's others I can't think of right offhand, but I just didn't know what I didn't know. An AK is maybe a little like that to a lot of people because everybody's into ARs, it seems like, but not everybody has owned an AK, and you hear all the rumors about how inaccurate they are. Well, I don't know, maybe so if you're bench resting at 400 yards, but for standing and shooting about anything, I don't notice them being inaccurate, really. If you look at Tim on the Military Arms channel, I've seen him do some accuracy testing with various AKs, and he gets some incredible accuracy out of them, depending on the model. And of course, he's a Marine, and he can shoot, but so I mean he's a good one to test them. So anyway, a little praise for the AK there, I guess. Well, I guess I've rambled at you long enough here. You've learned more about AKs today than you really meant to, or rifle rests, or anything. Well, you never know what I'm going to talk about, because I never know what I'm going to talk about. But I hope you have a chance to enjoy your firearms this week. In most areas of the country, I would say the weather is getting a lot better, and you get a chance to get out to the range or to the back 40, wherever you shoot. Hopefully you have a firearm or two that you thoroughly enjoy. You don't really have to have as many firearms as I have, easy for me to say, or access to all the firearms I have. I know for people who really are into firearms, I appear to have like an ideal situation, I guess, and it is in a lot of ways because of you guys. You caused it to happen, really. A little work on John and my part too, but I do have a lot of firearms, and but it doesn't take but having a couple, three really cool firearms to just thoroughly enjoy them. It's not the quantity, really, the volume of them. I have so many I neglect now that I just haven't had out maybe in a couple of years that, I probably should just sell or something. But I recall just having a good Smith & Wesson revolver, 357 Model 19, and a shotgun, double-barrel shotgun. What else did I have? And I got a 1911 going back into the 70s. I mean, I was in hog heaven, just 2 or 3 really cool firearms, and would take them out. And I mean, I was on top of the world, and I could go back to that and still be on top of the world. Just having a firearm you really enjoy. It don't have to have quantities and quantities of firearms, certainly, right? So spend some of that ammo or that money on ammo. That's where the fun really comes in, being able to shoot them. Oh, a 22, of course, yeah. So, if you've got in your battery or working towards having, say, a 22 that you like, a shotgun, maybe a revolver, and some kind of maybe semi-automatic pistol, maybe some kind of rifle, maybe if you like military rifles, good old bolt action, or even an AK or something. I mean, you could have really 6 or 7 firearms and have a very nice, dare I say it, arsenal, a collection to just do about anything you want to do with and have lots of fun with them. It's just, so I know, easy for me to say. Not only do I have quite a few, but I have a lot coming and going that they're not even mine, that I get to experiment with and shoot. But, it still comes back to my favorites that I enjoy the most. Packing around the farm with a Colt single action, or the AK. I just went out hiking around with it, before I started yakking at you. And did a little plinking and just thoroughly enjoyed that, just as I do if I pick up a single action revolver, double action revolver, and go plink. I may have told, and I do that quite often. Used to do it all the time, and we weren't even making videos, of course, but just grab a handful of 357 ammo and put it in my pocket and slap on a holster or stick a double action Smith & Wesson in my belt and just go plinking. And I remember once, don't know if I told this or not, but I'd been doing that. I had probably my 3-inch Model 65 that Smith & Wesson with the bob hammer was prowling around the farm plinking. I had my cargo shorts. I had a back pocket half full of cartridges, and without plinking around, got back and right here cleaned the gun, and I tucked it away, and then realized I needed to get to Home Depot for something. And so I drove over to not Home Depot. We don't have one of those too close. It was AutoZone. I needed to go pick up something, change oil on a tractor or do something. So I run over to AutoZone, and on top of everything else, I don't know what all I had in my pockets. I had taken my wallet out of my pocket and everything so I could, put some ammo in there, and I'd have another pocket for empty brass. I get in there, I'm buying 3-4 things, go to check out, and all I have in my pockets are, my keys, no wallet, no money. I've taken all that out. It's right here on this workbench. And I've got a half of, or whatever's left, about 30 357 rounds of ammo in my pocket. So they wouldn't trade the ammo for the merchandise I was buying. So I just had to leave, come home, get my money, and go back. Didn't have a credit card, had nothing. But I did have a pocket half full of ammo, right? So I should have just thrown it all out on the counter. He said, hey, this is a barter system, isn't it? It is AutoZone. Come on. Aren't we all rednecks here? Just kidding. So anyway, I don't know how to get off on all that. But hopefully you enjoy whatever firearms you have, and take good care of them. Clean them. I'm about to do that. I've just shot a couple of magazines through this AK, and I'm going to take it apart here when you all leave. I keep waiting for you to leave, but you won't. But as soon as you all leave, I'm going to take it down and thoroughly enjoy cleaning it. thoroughly enjoy cleaning it thoroughly. Even though it's an AK, I should be able to shoot it for 5 years without cleaning it, right? At least for another 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 magazines worth. But why? I'm not going to do that. I talked about that in the AK cleaning video. It's like, why do that? For one thing, I don't trust a lot of the ammo that you run through these Russian guns, the Tula or whatever it is. I shot some Tula and I shot some, I think this was made in the Ukraine, maybe this other, I don't know. A lot of it will say it's non-corrosive. It's awfully easy to stamp non-corrosive on a box of ammo, isn't it? Who checks that out? The Food and Drug Administration? Who verifies it's really non-corrosive? I don't care. It's all corrosive as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to clean it. I'm going to neutralize all that stuff with Ballistol and soak it and just clean it and enjoy taking it apart and doing that. So that's part of the hobby. Reloading, cleaning, maybe sometimes detail cleaning the firearm. If you're a true shooting enthusiast, I think if you're not there now, you will be at some point. I think you'll appreciate the enjoyment of just doing that. So just taking really good care of the firearm, and because so many of the firearms we buy, they end up being heirlooms in a way. You can pass those down. How are you going to wear out a firearm? As much as I shoot, I've never worn out a firearm. Even my Model 29 with over 75,000 rounds through, I've had a couple things break on it, I had to fix it, but I've never really worn out a firearm. That barrel is just as accurate as it ever was. So, just take good care of them, enjoy taking care of them. That's part of it. If you don't enjoy cleaning your firearm, I don't know, you don't really deserve to be a card-carrying gun nut. I really must say that. And I know for some people, I recall when I lived in the apartment, when I got into firearms, it was a little more awkward. I didn't have as good a place. It's nice to have a garage or like I have here, somewhere where you can just spray stuff and you don't have to worry about it. My workbench here has 15 years worth of Ballistol soaking, and it just doesn't matter. I could take it outside here on the shooting table even and work on it if I wanted to. So I know if you're doing it on the kitchen table, but even on the kitchen table, I recall doing that. You put down lots of paper, get some cardboard, keep it somewhere, a little tarp just for that or whatever, so you don't get in trouble with the wife or the husband or whoever, the kids. Just gear up for it. Maybe you buy a special drop cloth for it or a special little tarpaulin. I don't know what it is. It folds up and then you just don't have to worry about it and enjoy taking it apart. Maybe teach one of your youngsters how, while you're doing it, how it comes apart, and let them help you. Get them hooked, get them indoctrinated. I'll shut up in a minute. I know y'all are in a hurry. At the meet and greet yesterday, there was a family that came by. She's in the picture of this little girl. She stands about as tall as this AK. Really, she was cute, little. I forgot her age, but or if she said it, I maybe didn't understand her. But she was cute. She had to be. How old was she? 7 or 8, 9. She was really young and really petite. But she watched the videos, her dad, and I think even her mom. Her dad made her mom watch them probably, right? Because she was telling me that she finally got over her shyness enough to tell me that she thought it was awesome when I hit a 2-liter. She was cute. But, obviously her dad and mom have introduced her to firearms at early age. She has a little cricket rifle she was telling me about, and got her, something that fits her, and she enjoys shooting the 22, and just into it at a really early age. And that is just neat. I know there are a lot of people on the planet that would just think that's horrible. I doubt that you or I are one of them, though, right? So I just think it's so cool. And I can just see her dad, telling her about a firearm and cleaning it and explaining to her, like how the bolt comes out of that rifle and how to clean it and work on it. So teach them at an early age and the safety issues and how to take care of them. And it's a lifelong hobby, no doubt about it. It's unlike basketball. I can't go out and play full court basketball today. I'm sorry. but I can do anything with firearms I ever did, So it's a lifelong sport, lifelong endeavor. Hope you're enjoying it sufficiently whenever you get a chance. Just be safe. Be really safe, because you just never know when you get bitten. We get a little cavalier if we're handling these things all the time. And just think about it. If you ever drop the glass when you're getting a glass out of the cabinet to get a drink of water, things happen that you don't count on. You're not clumsy, but I'm sure you've dropped something and broken it somewhere along the way. We all make mistakes. We all get our attention, distracted or whatever. Just with firearms, there's just no margin of error. It's just like driving down the interstate. We have to be on guard and focused every second, and but enjoy them and get away from your computer or your smartphone and quit listening to me talk about them. Go get one out and clean it or shoot it. Life is good.
You've been listening to the Hickok45 radio show. See you on the range.